Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to discuss whether the hitting arm can be extended or bent on all the different tennis strokes. And let's get right into it with the serve. So on the serve, a lot of beginner players will find comfort in not extending the arm. So there's a sense of safety when the arm is bent at contact. The contact is occurring closer to the body and novice players feel more comfort that way. And what needs to happen to be able to generate the most leverage and the most power on the serve, and also to be able to get more net clearance, the arm has to be fully extended at the moment of contact. And if you have a good toss and good acceleration, this will naturally happen. And here's a few things that will prevent you from having a fully extended arm. So obviously, if your toss is very low on the serve, you will not be able to extend the arm, and you will therefore lose a lot of power and lose that higher net clearance. So if you've seen my previous toss videos, I always say it's better to toss the ball too high than too low. This will help you to get that full extension. A lot of people ask me, Nick, what about when it's windy? Should I still throw the ball high? It's a perfect day for that question because we have 20-mile-an-hour wind. You can see my shirt blowing in the wind. So on a day like today, I might actually reduce my toss height a little bit. I might not go as high as I normally do. But generally speaking, the statement is still true that it's always better to throw the ball too high than too low. And the reason is when you throw the ball too low, there's absolutely no way to correct a toss that's too low. And you can always wait for a higher toss to come down. So despite the big wind, I'm still going to try to toss this ball high and hit it on the way down. And this is going to help me to get that full extension at contact. Now at the advanced recreational level, there's another problem that some players experience where they do throw the ball high enough and they still don't quite get the full extension. And here's the reason why. There might be a lack of acceleration. So the racket is not accelerating fast enough to the contact, and therefore the ball ends up dropping too low and the arm is bent as a result of it. So let me try to demonstrate that. I'm going to throw the ball high, but I'm going to accelerate slowly and therefore be bent at contact. So this is something that I do see at the recreational level from time to time. And the solution to this is that you must learn the proper serve fundamentals, including all the different power sources on the serve, so that you can accelerate the racket as fast as possible and meet the ball at a higher level. And on to the next shot, which is the one-handed backhand. And here we do want to have the arm as extended as possible. Now it's actually okay to have a slight mini bend. There's even some elite tennis players that have the arm slightly bent, but you do generally want to keep the arm as straight as possible. Now be careful not to hyperextend the arm. There are some players that will hyperextend the arm. This will make the arm too stiff and you will get a lack of acceleration because of that. So make sure that it feels comfortable as you're extending your arm. Now here's the reason why the arm needs to be extended on the one-handed backhand. We're using the back side of our hand. We're naturally weaker on this side. So if we were to hit a backhand with a bent arm, we're number one, lose range of motion. So the stroke will overall be much shorter and we'll get less power because of that. So by extending the arm, we get a longer lever and it's going to help us generate more natural power. And remember that when it comes to the one-handed backhand, you have to extend the arm prior to the forward phase. There are some players who will keep the arm bent and then extend into the contact. In my experience, this type of movement going from bent to straight shortens the stroke, and again you will get a lack of acceleration because of it. So make sure that when you're extending the arm that it occurs prior to the forward phase. On the one-handed slice, it's going to be somewhat similar, only that we are going to extend a little bit closer to the contact. So the arm is going to be bent longer, in other words. So we're going to keep it bent, and the arm is going to extend somewhere around here. And it's very crucial that even on your slice backhand, in order to get that longer lever, in order to increase the range of motion in your stroke, that the arm indeed is extended prior to the contact and then remains extended on the finish. A two-handed backhand is one of the most complex shots in tennis. I would put it right behind the forehand and the serve. That's where the two-handed backhand comes in. And the reason why, it can be hit with many different arm structures. So there are some players that will hit the two-handed backhand with both arms extended. There are some players who will hit the backhand with one arm extended and one arm bent. And there are some players who will hit the two-handed backhand with both arms bent. So this is by no means a bad technique if you happen to have a two-handed backhand where both elbows are bent. I personally hit the backhand like this. And some really amazing backhands on the WTA Tour have a tendency to hit the backhand the same way, and even players on the ATP Tour such as Alexander Zverev will hit the backhand with both arms bent. And since we're talking about the left side of the body, now we can transition into the forehand, because it is different when we're hitting the ball with this side, whether it be a one-handed forehand or a two-handed backhand. When we have this movement, we can allow the arm to stay bent and we don't necessarily have to straighten it. And why is that the case? Because we are much stronger hitting from this side versus this side. So if we hit from this side bent, we have very little strength and we have to extend the arm to get a little bit more range of motion. However, when we're hitting with this side of the body, we can comfortably hit a ball with the arm bent, and this is also the case for the two-handed backhand. The left side of the body can be bent because of that. Now, if you watch my other forehand videos, and I'm going to link to some in the description below, you can check them out. I often discuss the difference between a straight arm forehand and a bent arm forehand. This is absolutely due to genetic predisposition. So if you naturally have a forehand with a bent arm, this is absolutely fine. And if you naturally have a forehand that has a straight arm of contact, this is fine as well. But here are the things that you want to avoid. So there are some players who will be bent in the preparation stage, and now they will extend into the contact, or even worse, they will be bent at contact and then extend after contact. If you do both of those things, you will severely hurt the consistency and power of your forehand. And just remember that there are absolutely no elite players who will extend after contact. So even the players that have a straight arm, immediately after contact the racket will go up, across and back, so there's no further extension of the arm. And even players that have a bent arm will never extend the arm further. They will remain bent throughout the entirety of the stroke. This is true for some of the best forehands in the history of the game. Now, a lot of players think falsely that you can correct bad timing or a bad contact by straightening and extending the arm. This is used as a corrective technique. And I have to tell you that the extension of the arm has nothing to do with proper contact. So you could easily fully extend the arm and still make improper contact. So if I hit a forehand like this, where my dominant shoulder is behind the non-dominant shoulder, the fact that I'm extending the arm forward does nothing to the contact, because now my body is completely blocking the arm and I'm still hitting the ball behind, even though I'm stretching the arm out. And what needs to happen on the forehand, whether it's a bent arm or a straight arm, the contact needs to occur with the dominant shoulder in front. And like I said, some of the greatest forehands of all time, whether it be the females or the males, have a contact with the elbow very close to the body. There's nothing wrong with this type of contact if the dominant shoulder is in front, because now we have all this open space in front of us where we can easily swing up, across and back and continue to rotate the body and therefore connect the ball to the core. And on to the next shot, which is the volley. So on the volley, similar to the forehand, you never want to start bend and then extend forward into the contact. This will do nothing to your volley. What you need to do on the volley is make it a deflective shot and try to freeze the racket at the moment of contact. And what I find with the volley, if you have the arm slightly bent, that number one, you have more feel. We always have a little bit more feel when we're playing the ball with the arm bent and closer to the body, but we also have a lot more strength when the arm is bent. Since the volley is a deflective shot, we need to create the stability of the racket head at the moment of contact. This is much better done with a slightly bent arm than a fully extended arm. And this is also the case for the one-handed backhand volley. You don't want to have the arm completely extended. This will make the stability worse. It is much more comfortable to hit the one-handed backhand volley with a slightly bent arm. Of course, when it comes to emergency shots at the net, you will have to stretch your arm to be able to reach the ball. This is an emergency situation and it's perfectly fine to do this. But what I find with a lot of recreational players, they will unnecessarily straighten the arm without moving their body. So this is kind of their first instinct when the ball comes laterally, just to go like this. This is something that you want to avoid. When you're moving laterally, keep the arm close to your body, and you can have the advantages that I previously mentioned, and leave the full extension of the arm only for emergency situations. And guys, when it comes to specialty shots, whether it be a short little angle topspin shot like this, or even a drop shot, or even a topspin lob, this is always easier done with a bent arm. And for the same reason as the volley, when we have the arm slightly bent, we have more feel. So any specialty shot that you hit, with the exception of emergency shots such as squash shots where we're stretching out, but any specialty shots where you're in control and you're doing it in an offensive situation, you're better off doing those shots with a bent arm because you have a lot more feel when you do so. And to simplify this whole video, if you're dealing with the backside of your arm, any shot that involves the backside of your arm hit off the ground, you want to have the arm straight. So whether it be a backhand slice or a topspin backhand, you want to have the arm straight. When we're dealing with this side of the arm, you have options. You don't necessarily have to be straight. You can be bent. That also involves the two-handed backhand. You can be a little bit more bent here because we are using this side of the arm. On the serve, obviously, because it's a completely different shot, we want to have that extension for power and net clearance. You definitely don't want to hit it with a bent arm. And when it comes to the specialty shots, because we have more feel when we hit the ball closer to the body, you don't have to extend. You're going to find more comfort when the arm is slightly bent, and this applies to the volley as well.